Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Arise with me, Sally Goodwin. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Arise with me, Sally Goodwin. It is so good to have you on. I'm a few minutes late this morning. Sincere apologies. I didn't bring a tissue. Even more sincere apologies. In this cold weather, my nose, it's not, I don't have a cold or anything, but you know how your nose just feels like it's running the whole time. That's what it feels like for me. So it kind of feels like I need to wipe my nose continuously. So please just excuse me if I'm a bit snivelly. I'm not sick. I just forgot to bring a tissue with me. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rise with Sally Goodwin. Good morning, beautiful Bertha. It is indeed a beautiful cold day. It's pouring, absolutely pouring down here. Good morning, Milani, my lovely friend. Lovely to have you on this morning. Pouring, pouring, pouring here. All night long, the wind blowing like mad. Good morning, Hilda. Thank you. Thank you for the tissue, my friend. I receive it. Good morning, Conrad. Lovely to see you, my friend. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Estrelita. Welcome, 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 everybody. I hope you're all warm and snug wherever you are, except for Hilda, because apparently it's warm where she is. She's not experiencing a freezing cold Cape Town winter. Jen, you have a big testimony brewing. I can't wait to hear your big testimony either. Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The cold, you know. I can't wait to hear your big testimony either, Jen. Yay, yes, 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 yes. We trust for that big testimony to break through and break out and be amazing. So welcome, everybody. It's so good to have you all on. You're going for a swim. Oh, my goodness, Hilda. Okay, that's too much for me. Too much for me to even contemplate in this freezing cold weather that we're having in Cape Town. Apparently, it's snowing somewhere. Just for anyone who has noticed, for some reason, what has been happening with my video, which I don't understand, is it starts off normally for the first few seconds. Good morning, Masitsi. Welcome. Lovely to have you on. It starts off normal for a few seconds and then it stretches. Like I look short and fat. Every woman's dream. I don't know. I've tried to figure it out for myself. I've Googled it. I've asked friends of mine. They've tried to help me. I look normal on my screen, but I haven't been able to figure it out. I do these Facebook Lives on my MacBook Air. If anybody has any knowledge or any idea how to fix it, please feel free to reach out to me. I don't know whether it's doing it now, but yeah. It seems it never used to do it, and suddenly it started doing it. It's like I get one technological thing sorted out and some other technological thing comes up to frustrate me. So just putting it out there, if any of you have noticed it or seen it, or I think it's more obvious on the replay, I don't know, I apologize. I'm not that short or that fat. I don't know what to do. Don't look at the screen, listen to the words. That's more important. So there we go. Thank you. So there we go. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Sylvia. Lovely to see you. Good morning, Sebs. Wonderful to have you on. And so everybody, just also thank you so much for all of those of you who have liked and loved and commented on and shared my post about the book launch. It's just amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Milani. Thank you so much for all of your support. For those of you who have already messaged me and booked tickets, the tickets are selling so fast. And here in Cape Town, we are very bad at booking tickets in advance. We leave everything till the last minute. So all my Cape Townian friends, don't leave it till the last minute. The tickets are selling fast. They really are, faster than I anticipated. And God has made me a promise about this launch, and God and I am standing in faith for a specific amount of people. And if it continues like that, like this, and there are a limited, it's a venue, there are a limited amount of seats. So please book your ticket. Please like and share. Please share with all your friends. As I said in my little blurb, it's more than just a book launch, it's an event. Good morning, Hanika. Lovely to have you on. And I know that God is going to do something amazing that day. I know that He has an enormous plan for that day. Also, ladies and gentlemen, it is not just for ladies. Good morning, Karen. Lovely to have you on, my friend. I'm trusting that you have recovered well or are recovering well from your knee surgery. And we just decree and declare supernatural divine healing over you in Jesus' name. Thank you, Hilda. Yes. So please don't wait to book. And also, I know that God is going to do an incredible thing that day. It is going to be, like Hilda says, a doorway into a brand new season. It's the birthing of something new, and it's not just for me. As someone who walks in the office of the prophet, I go ahead, and then it clears the way for others to follow behind me. So if you're trusting for new things from God, if you're waiting to birth something new, this is the perfect space for that to be a space of breakthrough, a space for you to step into something new with God. And that is, so much part of what God is doing. It is my beautiful, incredible friend, mentor, spiritual mother, the most wonderful Rose Rhoda, who most of you know, has agreed to be my host or my MC, whichever you would like to call it, for the event. She has known me and walked alongside me for longer than anybody else. She has counseled me, inspired me, encouraged me, mentored me, as well as being, as we all know who know Rose, she has also been, she has laid the foundation and laid the groundwork for women's ministry in the city. She has fought battles on behalf of women in the city. She has rattled cages and and taken down some giants on behalf of women in the city. Not just on behalf of women, but I'm sort of specifically singling that out in terms of what God has called me to. She has really, she has pioneered. She has pioneered not just in the city of Cape Town, but for us Cape Townian ladies who know her well. I'm just using that as a reference. But so she has agreed to be my MC or my host at my event, which is an enormous honor and a privilege for me. And so you will get to see her and hear from her as well. And she's going to be part of it as well. So that is such an honor and a privilege that I get to honor her in this way, that we get to share a platform at this event. And I really believe that is, good morning Caroline, that is something as well that God is going to use phenomenally. So please book, come, don't leave it till the last minute. Share, get it out there. There will be a book signing table. There will be extra books available to purchase because, August, it's towards the end of August, on the 19th of August. So, Christmas is coming. So there's, there will be space to buy Christmas presents. There will as well be, as I mentioned before, stalls there with people who will be selling various kinds of arts and crafts. So if you are an arts or a craft person and you would like to be a vendor and have a little stall and sell things, please let me know and I can put you in touch with the right people. And also, if you know of anyone or you are someone who would like to sponsor anything, so we are giving out goodie bags, and we would ideally love those goodie bags to be chock full of beautiful things for the ladies and gentlemen, because gentlemen are welcome. I'm not saying that it is a book launch. It is a book launch that I would imagine will appeal mainly to women. It is a book that I imagine would appeal mainly to women, but I do not want to stand in the way of men who want to come. And there are many men who support women in ministry and women in leadership. And so I'm not going to say to men they're not allowed to come. My husband will be there. He wouldn't miss it for all the world. My boys are going to pop in. They won't stay for the whole thing. It's a bit much for them, but they will pop in definitely to see their mother launch her first book. And so if there are men who want to come, they are more than welcome. So, but we want to really fill those goodie bags with things that are amazing and lovely and that women would love. So if you know of anybody who would like to sponsor anything, if you know of or if you are somebody who would like to sponsor items that will go in the goodie bag, please reach out to me and I can put you in touch with the incredible powerhouse ladies who are part of the organizing this event. Okay, right, that's me. I'm sorry if by the time the book launch happens, you're going to be so tired of hearing about it, but God is moving, ladies, and I'm just stand in awe as I watch him move. So please don't get bored. Please remain excited with me because it is just so exciting what he's doing. Okay, and I have my beautiful Sebs who is trusting to come down from Joburg for this book launch. So any of my Cape Townian ladies who feel like Somerset West is too far away, please let me just tell you that my beautiful Sebs is trusting to come down from Joburg, fly down from Joburg for this book launch. I have another friend who is flying down from Jeffreys Bay for this book launch. I have friends coming from Greyton. I have friends coming from Hermanus. So it is not far to Somerset West. Ladies who live in Cape Town. There are ladies who are coming from much further than just the southern suburbs or the deep south or wherever you might be coming from. So yes, that's just because I know what we Cape Townians are like. We hate to drive anywhere further than 15 minutes. It's a Saturday morning. It's will take you half an hour. It's going to be worth it. Every moment is going to be worth it. Okay, now. Yes, my Jen, receive it as a prophetic word. Receive it as a prophetic word. My friend Anthea she's already booked her ticket and she is coming down from Jeffreys Bay, from Jeffreys Bay for the book launch. So you receive that as a prophetic word for you, that you will be here from Jeffreys Bay for the book launch. Okay, ladies, we are moving on. We are in the month of Sivan, the Hebrew month of Sivan, as I have mentioned previously to all of you. And we are, it is the 14th of June 2023 today, and it is Brenda's flying in from Blouberg. Thank you, Brenda, for flying in from Blouberg. For a moment, I thought you were also saying you're flying in from Joburg. Come on, amen. It is the 14th of June, 2023 today, and it is the 25th of Sivan, 5783 today. So we are moving towards the end of the month of Sivan. In fact, next week, Tuesday, we will move into the month of Tammuz. Good morning, Martha. Martha is one of my friends who's coming from Hermanus. We are moving into the Hebrew month of Tammuz next week, Tuesday. So Friday's teaching will be on the Hebrew month of Tammuz. And we will hold what we've been doing here and learn about the Hebrew month of Tammuz. But what we've learned so far about the Hebrew month of Sivan is that it is the business person's month, that the tribe of Zebulun, they were a tribe that went out. They were known to be a marketplace tribe. They were a tribe of commerce. They were a tribe who brought in business. They were well known for that kind of thing. They were a seafaring tribe. They were very, very well known for being kind of marketplace leaders. And so they interacted with the outside world. They weren't an insular tribe that was only kind of interacted with the Jewish people or within the Jewish the kingdom of Israel. They were a tribe who interacted very much with the outside world. And it just amazes me as we go through these Hebrew months, and as I'm taking you through the different, letters that Paul wrote, as we move towards looking at the 7 churches in Revelation, and we move to, as we just chat generally about what God is doing in the global church and this new thing that we keep talking about, how God just is tying all of these strings together for me. And literally, it just happens in the moment as I'm preparing to come and speak to you ladies, because that's how God does it, so that I don't bring my own fleshly stuff in, so that it's all Holy Spirit. He often leaves it right for the very last minute. And so we're looking at Thessalonians. That is the next book that we've moved on to. And the interesting thing about this Thessalonians is that it's, if we look at the city of Thessalonica, and please understand, I present you with all of these little strings and then I tie them together. So don't be confused. Okay. So what I'm trying to present to you here is we're in this month of Sivan, which is this month of Zebulun, which is this month of marketplace, business people. It is a month where we understand that we as Christians, as believers in Jesus, we are not insulated. We are in the world, but not of the world. But we have to be in the world, because otherwise, how does the world ever get to be get to hear about Jesus? And we cannot be in our holy huddle, separated out from everybody else. In terms of the way we live our lives, we have to be. Jesus sent his disciples out into the world to spread the gospel. We spoke last week about the Great Commission, about how instead of the church being this gathering place where where people, leaders, gather the people in unto themselves, it's actually supposed to be a place of sending, where people are sent out into the world, where people are, and how this new move of God is going to be more than ever before a sending move, where people are sent out, because instead of there being less people on the planet who have heard about Jesus, we now have more people on the planet who have never heard the name of Jesus than ever before. And how is God going to use his church to rectify that? But by having this incredible sending move. And people, there have been so many prophets who have prophesied a 1 billion soul harvest and all of these things. But how is that going to happen when actually there are more people not knowing Jesus than there are people knowing Jesus? And the only way it will happen is if the church becomes a church where people are sent out rather than gathered in and then held tightly. And the only way that people can be sent out is if they have been equipped and empowered and activated. And the only way that can happen is if the fivefold operate the way the fivefold are supposed to operate, and actually raise people up, apostles, prophets, evangelists, teachers, pastors, actually raise people up like them and send them out into the world to do the work of the ministry. So we discussed all that last time. I'm not going to go over that again, because I can get a bit soapboxy about all of that stuff. But I just want to bring Thessalonians into this context, because the city of Thessalonica is the second largest city in present-day Greece, and has been in continuous existence in the same location since 316 BC. Can you believe that? Since 316 BC, years before Jesus, the city of Thessalonica has been in continuous existence at the same location. Isn't that amazing, to actually just that amount of history? And because of its location along the shores of the Aegean Sea, however you pronounce that, it was very strategically important to the Roman Empire. And all of that is important because of what I'm going to share. So most of the Macedonians, remember how that the man from Macedonia appeared to Paul in a dream or in a vision and said, please come to Macedonia? That was how Paul landed up planting the Thessalonian church. And so most of the indigenous Macedonians who inhabited the city traced their ancestry back to Alexander the Great. But because of the Roman occupation, and because the city was so strategically important to the Roman Empire, the city became a truly Greco-Roman city. And then by the time of Paul, it was a prosperous commercial center. And so it became a very important city, Greco-Roman, but also with a very strong Jewish presence. So what I want you to see is a multicultural city, Thessalonica, a multicultural city, Greek, Roman, very historical, and very important, very commercially orientated, prosperous, but with a strong Jewish presence as well. Very multicultural, very diverse. Okay, and then here comes Paul. In the vision in Troas, Paul sees the Macedonian man calling him to come and help, and he responds to this clear call, and off he goes, and he is successful there, and he converts a whole lot of people in Thessalonica. And a large number of God-fearing Greeks. Notice that there were a large number of God-fearing Greeks before Paul got there. So they were already God-fearing, in other words, accepting of the Jewish religion, fearing the Jewish God, what they perceived as the Jewish God, and not a few prominent women. In other words, rich female members of the society. So this was a society that had prominent women in it. Yay. Okay. So anyway, this is how the church in Thessalonica became a church. And it's interesting how Paul goes there and he sort of plants the church, and then he goes off on more of his trips. And then in 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 17 to 18, Paul describes how he attempted to return on several occasions but was stopped by Satan. Very interesting, that, really interesting. He doesn't elaborate on how, but he just says that the enemies prevented him from getting back to the church in Thessalonica. And Thessalonica, the church in Thessalonica, the Thessalonian church, begins to grow amazingly, which is incredible, but they start to question Paul's integrity as a minister because they feel abandoned by him, because he's prevented from returning to them. And then they also start doubting what happens to their people who die. They start to doubt where they go, and they have a whole lot of questions around eschatology and all that kind of thing. Sounds pretty much like the modern day church. The thing is that when you look at these churches, when you look at these letters, as I've already proven to you with 1 and 2 Corinthians, with Galatians, we cannot say, oh, well, our modern day churches today, Paul couldn't possibly have understood what we're going through today. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just, the devil doesn't come up with new things. He just puts a different face on it. But we face the same thing, the same demons, the same stuff that they faced in those days. We might have social media and technology in a slightly different context, but we face the same stuff. And so we can learn so much from these lessons. And so the reason I'm bringing all of these things in together, so we've got Sivan, we've got, and we've got this church in Thessalonica. So the Thessalonian church, we need to remember this multicultural, diverse, prosperous, commercially focused. This was the city, this was the space that this church occupied. This was the place that they were in. And so I want you to think, keep those two strings in your brain if you can. And then focus as well on Paul's main message in 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 1 to 12. Paul's main message to the church in Thessalonica is how to live holy lives in a pagan world. So how to live holy lives in this world where they were surrounded by prosperity, commercialism, diversity, different cultures, different religious beliefs, all of these different political beliefs. Sounds like a microcosm of many of our cities today. Right, okay, so you've got that. Living holy lives in a pagan world. Okay, now, remember that. Think of this. Think on this while we talk about this. Towards the end of 2021, some of you have been following me for a long time. may remember. I brought a word to the church that we were leading at the time, co-leading at the time. And the word was this: convergence. Convergence. And literally, I was preaching that Sunday. I had nothing. I went to bed on Saturday night and I had nothing. Nothing for a sermon. Now, that is not new for me. That is not new for me. God often does that. And he wakes me up. I either don't sleep the night before, or he wakes me up in the early hours of the morning and he gives me my message. So I'm used to that because my prayer always is that every word that comes out of my mouth will be from the Holy Spirit, not my words. And so in order for that to happen, God makes sure that I am unprepared in the natural, because otherwise I tend to hyper focus and over prepare. So he makes sure that I don't do that, and then I literally am flowing in the Spirit. And it's like that every time I teach or preach. That's the way God and I work. That's the way I work with the Lord. Okay. So this time but often what I have is an inkling. I have an inkling or a sense in my spirit where God is going. I might just have a verse, or I might just have a something, but I have a sense where God is going. This particular Saturday night, I had nothing, not a thing, not a verse, not a sound, not a word, not a nothing. And I woke up in the early hours of Sunday morning with one word: convergence. I didn't even know what it meant. I had no idea what it meant. And I sat up and I said to the Lord, convergence. Okay. And I still texted my co-pastor, and who'd been praying for me, because I'd said to her, I don't have anything. And I said to her, the word is convergence. That was all I knew. And then I started looking it up. And what God showed me by what he meant was by convergence was a whole lot of streams of water flowing like this and converging into one river. A whole lot of streams converging together into one river. And then he started speaking to me. And in that particular instance, he was speaking to me about time. And then I released the word, which some of you might remember, and I've spoken about it many times subsequent to that, about how God told me that the decade that we are living in is one of the most significant decades since Jesus set foot on the earth. This decade, from 2020 to 2029, this decade is one of the most significant decades since Jesus set foot on the earth, and it is a decade where God's Kairos time and our Chronos times are going to converge, where God is going to sovereignly move on the earth, and he is going to impact his Kairos time on our Chronos time and sovereignly move in the ways that he is choosing to move. And I'm not saying the world is ending in 2030. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm just saying that in God's timeline, this decade is one of the most significant decades, and that we need to know what we are doing for the Lord in this decade. If you don't know your destiny, if you don't know your calling, if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, if you need to know that. We're in 2023. We have 7 years left, or whatever it is, of this decade. Not even, because we're in June. You need to know where you're going, what you're doing. You need to, because this is an incredibly significant decade. So I've preached that so many times that I'm sure that most of you who follow me have heard me say that over and over again. Convergence of Kairos and Chronos times in our lives as individuals, in the lives of nations, globally, in the global church. Very significant decade. But what God has been speaking to me about as well, in September 2019, in the church that we were leading at the time, I preached a word about being a plumb line. Being a plumb line from Amos 7, verse 7 to 8, where God says to Amos about being a plumb line. And my word was, who will be the plumb line? This was in 2019. I preached this word, September 2019. And the vision God had given me was this, and I briefly referenced this last week. The vision God had given me was this. there was a vision. So I have this vision, and again, if you've been following me for any length of time, I have shared this vision so many times. The vision God had given me previous to this, which I had shared in the church at the time, I think I'd shared it in 2018 already. God gave me this vision of the bride of Christ, and she was this beautiful bride, like absolutely beautiful, all decked out in a beautiful wedding dress. I'm a blingy girl, so the wedding dress had diamante and sparkles from head to toe. I love bling, so it was very blingy, very, Swarovski crystals and all sorts of things, right down to the floor, ball gown type dress, absolutely beautiful, veil, the whole toot. Whatever you picture as a bridal gown that would, knock your socks off, you picture that. That was this bride that I pictured, absolutely beautiful, just this most gorgeous bride of Christ, the most beautiful creation you've ever seen. And the vision that God gave me was God was explaining to me, and I'm not going to go into it now because I don't have time, but I've preached on this before as well, that the Hebrew word for kiss and the Hebrew word for armor are the same word. So it was all about intimacy, and how when we receive the kiss of Jesus, we armor up, because kiss and armor in Hebrew are the same. So when we are intimate with Jesus, when we are in close intimacy with God, when we lift our heads as the bride of Christ to receive the kiss of Jesus, we armor up at the same time. And so as this beautiful bride lifted her head to receive the kiss of her bridegroom, she armored up. I watched as the sword appeared on her side, and the AK-47 across her chest, and this grenade belt around her hips. And then she reached down and she lifted up her skirts, and she had combat boots on. It was absolutely, I mean, maybe that's not the kind of picture that appeals to you, but it is the kind of picture that appeals to me. Like, this woman was so beautiful, so feminine, so girly, but so tough and so strong and so ready for everything, not, how so many people have often preached this message that God is coming back from this church that is like hiding in the rocks and holding on by her fingernails. And God was just like, I am coming back for a church who is powerful, powerful. And it was just this vision of this powerful bride. And so this was the vision he'd given me in like 2018, and I'd preached this message on Jesus and the kiss and armoring and all of that. And then the vision in 2019, when I preached the message on who will be the plumb line, he gave me the same vision again, but inside the inner being of the bride burned these three fires: the fire of purity, the fire of holiness, and the fire of intimacy. There were these fires, and in Revelation, I can't think of the verse now, but in Revelation, God uses the fire as the plumb line. So the fire of purity, the fire of holiness, the fire of intimacy, when you have walked through those fires, then you can be the plumb line. But part of being the plumb line, so a plumb line, I had a diagram, but I don't have it now. But a plumb line is an old-fashioned tool that was used to measure the vertical straightness of walls and things. So if you think of a pendulum, you think of a pendulum swings from one side to the other like that, and then eventually it settles in the middle. And what God had showed me, the picture God had showed me, is that the church, globally, okay, that's what we have done over centuries and centuries and centuries. There will be a move of God, and every move of God, every denomination has been begun by men who have gone after the heart of God. They have learned something new. They have received a new revelation. They have been going after the heart of God. They have started because God has stirred something up inside of them. He has showed them something new, and they have gone after it. But what has happened is, as a church, we have then swung From one side of the pendulum to the other side. What do? Every time we throw the baby out with the bath water. So a new move of God will start. And what do? We say we are going to leave everything from the past behind. Everything from the past behind. So everything that has gone before is wrong. And we are going to step fully into this new thing. And we are going to say that everyone who has ever been part of anything that went before was wrong, and everything that is in the new thing is right. And then we are going to just fully go after the new thing. And then what happens is, because that is unsustainable, because we always land up building it around a man and not just around Jesus, then God has to move on, and he has to raise up somebody new, and he has to bring a new revelation, and then we move into the new revelation. And what do? We say we're not ever going back to that old thing. We are going to move into this new thing. We are going to go, and everything before is going to be left behind. So we swing wildly from one side of the pendulum to the other side of the pendulum. So we have this move where, we get all legalistic, and everything is so legalistic, and we're so bound by legalism and so in bondage to legalism that somebody comes with a revelation of grace, and then we swing wildly to the other side of the pendulum where everything is grace and there's no consequence for sin, and nobody even knows what repentance is any longer, and nobody believes they have to repent any longer. And and in legalism, nobody felt loved, and nobody felt seen, and nobody felt accepted. And so we swing wildly to the other side of the pendulum where love equals tolerance, and everything is tolerated, and everything is loved, and everything is accepted. And God is saying, where is my plumb line? Who will be the plumb line? Who will be the warrior bride remnant who has walked through the fire of purity, the fire of holiness, the fire of intimacy, who will be the plumb line? Here's where it all converges. In this time of convergence, God is bringing together everything he has done before that is good, that is good, that was God, that is pure, that is holy, that is righteous. Now, I know that I have said before, new means new. When God does a new thing, he does a new thing. We can't keep looking back. And I've said that because we still have people camping around the last move of God. And people who say, this can't be God because it doesn't look like it looked then. God isn't going to repeat exactly what he did before, but he is going to take out of the previous moves and his previous things that he did before, all the things that were good, all the things that were God, all the things that encompassed everything he is, and bring it all together in one converging stream into this next move that is his and his alone. And so I take you back to Jeremiah 6, verse 16. Do you see how I'm tying the threads together? Do you see where we're going with these threads? Please tell me that I'm tying it together in a way that makes sense to you. Jeremiah 6, verse 16, in the King James Version. Thus says the Lord, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths where the good way is, and walk in it. Then you will find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. Okay, let us look at the old word. So some translations say ancient paths. And what did I say the Amplified says? The Amplified says eternal paths. So I'm a scholar. What do I love to do? I love to go and see what the Hebrew says. I love Strong's. I love to go look at the Hebrew words. So I thought, let's look at the King James. Let's look at what the Strong's word for that old is. Okay, so if we go to the Strong's Hebrew word for that, which is, and I will attempt to pronounce it, olom, olom, something like that. I want you to hear the definition of this. This is the word that the King James translates as old. Some translations translate as ancient. Some translations translate, Amplified translates as eternal. Okay. Concealed, i.e., the vanishing point. Generally, time out of mind, past or future. Past or future. Not just past, not just future, could be both. Eternity, always, ancient times, from antiquity, continue, eternal, eternity, everlasting, forevermore, long time, old times, permanent, perpetually, at any time, since the beginning of the world. The word usually refers to looking forward, but many times expresses the idea of looking backward. Do you see what I'm trying to say here? That verse that we read as ancient paths, old ways, and we think, oh, we need to look back. It doesn't just speak about looking back. It actually speaks about looking forward and looking back. In other words, eternal, an eternal viewpoint. What is God's eternal viewpoint? What are the eternal paths that God is calling us to follow? It may cover a given person's lifetime, a period of many generations, the time of the present created order, time beyond this temporal sphere, especially when used regarding God. The term also applies to many things associated with God, such as his decrees, his covenants, and the Messiah. This word describes the span of time in which God is to be obeyed and praised. Eternity is the span of time in which God is to be obeyed and praised. In the age to come, there will be no need for sun or moon, for God himself will be the everlasting light. This is this word. This is all encompassed. This is the Hebrew language, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you cannot ever get to the end of it. It is so amazing. This is all encompassed in this one Hebrew word, old, ancient, eternal. The Amplified captured it as best they could as eternal, but it is so much more than that. It is looking back and looking forward. The ancient paths, looking back and looking forward, not negating the good that God has done before. So if we see in this move of God things that God has done before, that we cannot be like, well, this isn't the new move of God because this has been done before. If it is a good thing that he's done before, if it is something that we are like, that was a good thing, that was thrown out and it shouldn't have been thrown out, then we need to be, no, this is part of God's eternal plan because it is God. And then if we see a new thing that has never been done before because we're looking forward, we cannot be, this is not God because we've never seen this before. We need to be, this is part of God's eternal plan because this is God. Because this move is going to be his and his alone as he converges the old and the new into his eternal plan. Looking backward, looking forward, because he is not bound by backwards and forwards. Convergence. Convergence. All in this time, in this decade. Everything, if you just look at it in terms of your life, everything that is good, that has been good in your life, whatever has happened in your life, do not just wipe away what has gone before in your past, because there will have been good things deposits that God placed in your life, good things that happened, that were done, that you lived, that you were part of, that God is going to bring. He wastes nothing. That he's going to bring into the now, and he's going to use. He wastes nothing. How does he turn all things for good for those who love him and believe and are called according to his purpose, if he cannot bring out what has been before in your lifetime and bring it into where you are now and use what is still to come? The one thing, amazing thing about Hebrew is they always tell you to look at other words, because Hebrew words are interrelated. They often come from similar roots, and then they carry the meanings of other words within them. And so this word tells you to look at two other words. And I want to just very quickly, because I did look at them very quickly, and I think I saw something that I liked. Here, yes. So this is a word, it tells you to look at this word, which is duration in the sense of advance or perpetuity. Perpetuity. In perpetuity, which means forever. Forever, eternity, everlasting, forever. A noun meaning eternity. The word signifies God's dwelling place. It refers to the continuance of a king on the throne. The word can indicate continual joy. Continual joy. The word's references to mountains that would be shattered. The sun and the moon may show that the word sometimes means sorry, I've lost my place. Okay, I lost my place. Sorry, I got so excited I lost my place. And there's another space that they also mentioned, but I don't. Now I'm losing my place because I'm getting overexcited. But it just, do you understand what I'm trying to say in all of this that I'm trying to bring together? I'm not trying to bring it together. God is bringing it together. God is bringing it together. Eternal. The third word that they're referencing is netzach. It is splendor, truthfulness, continually, the most distant point of view, always, end, eternally, ever, forever, and never, perpetual strength, utmost victory. Perpetual strength, utmost victory. All of those words are encompassed together in this word. Just amazing. Amazing. So do you see where I'm going with all of this? Do you see how I'm preaching on a new thing without knowing exactly what the new thing looks like? That we are unpacking revelation. God has been giving me revelation since 2018, and some of this I'm unpacking it with you. Like, some of this is revelation he's given me before, but he's giving me fresh revelation, fresh fire, fresh input on it, fresh excitement for it, and so it's just the most amazing thing. This one verse, this one thing about returning to the ancient paths, and this verse as well, this Jeremiah 6:16. God has been speaking to me about this verse literally for the last 5 years. He keeps bringing it back to me, and I keep saying to him, Lord, I am here for it. I just don't know what ancient paths you're talking about. If show me the ancient path, and I will walk on it with absolute pleasure. Please. But it actually wasn't until I read it in the Amplified translation and saw the word eternal that then I was like, wow, hang on, there's something on this. And of course, because it's the timing of God. It is the timing of God. I wasn't ready to receive that revelation back when he first showed it to me. And it's been a journey. It is a journey. He delights in the journey. He delights in giving me these little clues and little pieces that he pieces together. And then I just delight in sharing it with you. And we put it all together. But ladies and gentlemen, it is so exciting. It is so exciting. This path, these eternal paths that God is calling us onto as this remnant warrior bride that is arising across the globe with her combat boots on, fully armored up in intimacy with Jesus, having walked through the fire of purity, holiness, and intimacy. Ready victorious, and willing to walk on those eternal paths, despised by others. Because let us not forget the end of that verse, that they said, we will not walk in it. Let us be those who say, we will walk in it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited because I know this is all going somewhere, and I'm on as much along for the ride as you are. I can see the picture, but God just unveils clearer pieces for me continuously. He's so gracious and kind and just so amazing. So thank you to each one of you for joining this morning. It's been so good to have you on. I will be back on Friday, even though it's a public holiday, even though it is Youth Day. I will be back on Friday morning at 8 o'clock, and we will look at the Hebrew month of Tammuz, which begins next month. So we will be moving over into that month, and we will see what God has for us in Tammuz, and with our new steps along this road with the convergence and Jeremiah 6:16 and the eternal paths and everything. It is such an exciting journey. Please like and share, ladies and gentlemen. Please continue to share the book launch. Please book your tickets, and I love you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be blessed, and I shall see you on Friday. Love you.